The 2022 diplomacy season is off and running with 4 events in the books spanning all formats and 2 languages, with a 5th unfolding as we speak. The face-to-facers are whistling Dixie and the extended deadliners are epistling quickly, which can only mean one thing: calibrate your mood ring and tighten your chastity belt, because this is the DBNI Countdown Show.
Hey, Zach, we're back. Like backyard barbecues, fireworks, music festivals, and guys bragging about their boats, the first countdown show of the DBNI season has become a summer tradition. I'm your host, Bryan. I'm joined by the man voted most likely not to read what he's agreeing to before he signs it, Minnesotan and fellow co-host, Zach. How are you doing, Zach?
Bryan, I'm doing great despite the intro that I did not see on the script. You hid from me somehow with some sort of weird, goofy font, and I don't appreciate it, but I'm ready to get into our DBNI standings and discuss these players and these events.
We are 4 games into the DBNI season. We've got several upcoming events before the summer ends. Some of our players have come on strong out of the gate, while other perennial favorites are taking a more measured approach. We're going to see how these approaches pay off at the end of the season, but for now, let's take a quick look at our automatic qualifiers.
Well, as many of you already know, anyone who wins a qualifying event that has at least 9 boards and 28 unique players and plays in at least 2 virtual face-to-face games during the 2021 season will receive an automatic invitation. So far, there have been 4 DBNI events in the 2022 season, 3 of which have been large enough to qualify for an automatic invitation. And on screen right now, we see some of the winners of our automatic qualifying face-to-face and virtual face-to-face events early in this season. The Championnat du Monde Francophone and champion Steve Personini receiving a nice dose of DBNI points, but with only 22 players and 7 boards, this event was not quite large enough for automatic qualification. Who else but Tonya Gill won the North American Diplomacy Championship at Whipping, besting 41 other players on 19 boards in what will likely be the largest face-to-face event of the season until the World Diplomacy Championship at Carnage in November. And finally, Brandon Fogel crushed 36 players on 12 boards to win DixieCon just over a month ago. Both Tonya and Brandon will automatically qualify for the DBNI once they meet the 2 virtual game minimum requirement.
And in the extended deadline category, the Nexus 7 tournament is completed and might be the largest extended deadline event of the season. Ed Sullivan was the big winner and will automatically qualify as soon as he meets the 2 virtual game minimum. The Online Diplomacy Championship is being played on playdiplomacy.com. We anticipate this event will complete this season. If it does, the winner will likely automatically qualify for the DBNI, assuming they meet the 2 virtual game minimum. And the Nexus Press League is an extended deadline league that has already met the required players and boards for the winner to automatically qualify. This event will end in January 2022 and will be one of the largest events of this season. And in league play, we've got several leagues underway. French Diplomacy League, Tour of Britain, and Virtual Diplomacy League will end in January. The winners of all 3 of these events will likely automatically qualify for the DBNI as well. And as a reminder, the Virtual Diplomacy League awards 2 automatic invitations, one for the winner of the regular season and one for the Virtual Diplomacy League champion.
We got all the boring rule stuff out of the way, Bryan. Let's get what the people want. Let's put it on the screen.
All right, let's take a look at your first standings of the 2022 season. Fire on the mountain, run boys, run. Channeling his inner Charlie Daniels, Ed Sullivan is second fiddle no longer, moving into first chair by winning the Nexus Season 7 Extended Deadline Tournament.
Number 2, it's a familiar face. Tonya Gill is your 2022 North American Diplomacy Champion and one of the most reliably dominant players in the world. She was in control every minute of every board at Whipping and leads the circuit with an unfathomable 88% top share.
Brandon Fogel unexpectedly thrived in the draw-based DixieCon scoring system, winning the event, adding to his top 7 finish at Whipping to start this season in 3rd place.
Well, coming in at 3, Matthew has spent years playing Krill They Won't They with the Nexus Championship trophy, but the timing has never been quite right. And in Season 7, he was 3rd wheel to champion Ed Sullivan and runner-up Greg Matthews.
Steve Personini won the first DBNI event of the season, besting 2022 DBNI Top 28 participant Ruben Sanchez for the CMFV title and 5th place spot in this season's inaugural standings.
Well, Andrew Troff fed his allies dots before butchering them quickly and humanely at this year's Whipping tournament, but he wasn't able to hog all the centers, falling short of Tonya Gill and earning himself a helping of seconds.
Google tells me that Greg Ewok Matthews is a famous cricketer, a college professor, and host of his own podcast. More impressive is that his DBNI standings debut is in the top 7, exactly where he was at the end of last season. Mr. Consistency, Greg and Andrew also have our first tie of this season.
Let's swing on over to places 8 through 14, where it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone that Baltimore's bad boy Brian Ecton found a way to score himself an 8th. He spent all weekend at DixieCon lighting up the joint, smoking away his competition and getting higher than he's ever been on the DBNI rankings.
Perhaps more than any other player, Ruben Sanchez had a rough go during the 2022 DBNI. We're glad to see Ruben not only returning to the game of diplomacy, but playing well with the 2nd place finish at the CMFV and a top 10 DBNI standings debut.
At number 10, the browser cookie monster Nom 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 Brown didn't come for a slice of the pie. He wanted the whole damn thing, and he nearly took it while laying a heavy whipping on his cream puff opponents in San Jose this April, en route to a podium finish out west.
In 11th place, Nicolas Ahuja is already showing how he managed to win multiple world championships. Nicolas is one of the most consistent performers in all of diplomacy, starting this season with a top 7 finish at both the CMFV and at Whipping.
After a top 10 finish at Whipping and a trip to the top board at Nexus Season 7, it's only a matter of time before Karthik Kaneth busts out with a huge tournament result. Could this weekend at Cascadia be the moment he finds himself at the top of the mountain?
But watch out, DBNI contenders. John Anderson is already in 13th place despite not competing in a single face-to-face or virtual event. Will the points he received from his 4th place Nexus finish keep him in the DBNI Top 28 this season?
And rounding out our second board is Riaz Virani, who scored top 10 finishes at both Whipping and Nexus, but needs to find himself on a podium if he wants to truly secure his spot. The Gunboat King takes aim at Vancouver this weekend with his sights set on keeping the Cascadia Trophy in his home country.
And on to 15 to 21. Christophe Borges is one of the best French language players in the hobby. Question, as always, is whether the performance in these games will be enough to qualify for the DBNI at the end of the year.
Number 16, Randy Lawrence Hurtlocker disarmed his opponents at DixieCon, but bombed out of the draw in round 2, leaving him just shy of a top 3 finish at his home tournament. The NADF Alderman needs to play a little less board member and a little more board leader if he wants to hold on to this spot.
And Stephen Hogue debuts at 17th on the strength of his top 7 finish at DixieCon. Since we entered the virtual era of the diplomacy hobby, Steve's been one of the most active players. His consistent play is paying off, but it will take more than this one score to remain in the top 28.
Spencer Tarziar makes his countdown debut after an impressive trip to the top board at Nexus Season 7. He'll need to make the transition to virtual, but if he can do it and do it well, the Nexus result presents a strong foundation for a DBNI run.
During the June edition of League Night, Lei Sarlenen demonstrated a new opening he called the Children's Crusade, in which an Italian army made a slow march towards Turkey, resulting in long-term Italian success. Lei will need similar performance to maintain his 19th place in the standings.
Karl Ronenberg has been around the virtual block but showed his face-to-face chops at Dixie, finding his way into all 3 draws and enjoying a top 7 finish for his efforts. He's got the experience and the ability to find his way into the top 28 come February.
And in 21st place, we have a blue blood of the extended deadline community, Jordan Connors. Like Ed Sullivan and Greg Matthews, Jordan is not an extended deadline only player. With the points from the Nexus Season 7 tournament already on the record, will Jordan find another event to give the points necessary to remain in the top 28?
We'll move on now to positions 22 through 28, where Louis Borgia finished 5th overall and 2nd among Borgias at the French Language Diplomacy Championship, a circuit with a high level of competition. If those skills translate to English language play, he might just be here on this list to stay.
I'm sorry, Jackson Roberts. I didn't mean to make you cry, but a 10th place finish at Whipping and a 20th place finish at Dixie won't get you a piece of the DBNI pie. Good news for Jackson is he's been extremely active of late, and more games means more chances.
Well, Andrei Gribakov is a familiar name to DBNI viewers and a strong player to boot, but he hasn't quite gotten off the ground yet in 2022. With his home tournament behind him in Whipping, he'll need to find some extended deadline success if he wants to stay on this list for much longer.
Rookie Bradley Grace makes his DBNI debut in 25th place on the strength of a top 7 finish at DixieCon. The question on everyone's mind, is Grace DBNI's freshman season more like Peyton Manning or Jimmy Clausen?
2016 World Champion Chris Brand makes an appearance on Countdown after a top 10 finish at Whipping. If commentator Chris Brand yields some time to player Chris Brand, everybody on this list better watch out. But at least for this weekend, tournament director Chris Brand has taken control at Cascadia.
Longtime face-to-face player Brad Blitzstein lives life on the edge of the DBNI bubble. This is the 3rd season in which Blitzstein's entered the front half of the season on the right side of the bubble, only to have that burst in the back half of the season. Good news for Brad as his home tournament Carnage is hosting the WDC this year. A strong performance there might be enough for a strong postseason run.
Number 28, Davide Cignoli usually debuts higher on this list and then falls throughout the season, but a packed roster at Nexus Season 7 found him outside the top board, a rare position for one of the better extended deadline players in the game. Take a screenshot now, folks. This will likely be the last you see of Davide on this list.
And here are the players on the bubble who just missed the cut, places 29 to 35, headlined by 2022 Diplomat of the Year Jason Massbaum, Ben Kelman, Remy Hocklander, 90 KICVESB, Yaramir Sulja, Katie Gray, and Briouc Thibault round out your players just on the edge. It's early in the season, and it's likely we'll see some of these players in February.
Well, that's the edge, but let's page on over to the edge of the edge with 36 through 42. Kirk Vaughn, Chris Matza, Sasha Massacre, Daniel Byers, Hardacre, Thomas Seberan, and John Jameson. Lot of familiar names on this list. A lot of names who have spent their fair share of time on the bubble. and it can go just like that. Bubble to top 15 in one show is not unheard of. Don't count any of those names out.
Winning in diplomacy is hard, but staying at the top is harder. Unlike the 2021 cohort, where the majority of the Super 7 spent most of the season on the outside looking in, the 2022 Super 7 is starting out strong. Let's take a quick look at how they're performing right now.
Well, love seeing last year's Super 7 staying hungry early in the season. No DBNI hangover for this group. Ed Sullivan debuting in first place with an auto bid in pocket from Nexus. Brandon Fogel went ahead and won. Dixie Khan slides into third. He's got his auto bid. He'll be back. Jason Massbum is first place of the rest, 29th, first out of the list. Katie Gray in 34th place. Farron Jane, 54th, but she plays a lot of leagues. Expect her to be a late riser in the winter. Nicolas Tallet, not ranked, has not put up any scores, but is high on the Virtual Diplomacy League standings. And Saren Kwok enjoying a little bit of rest and relaxation, or should I say was enjoying a little bit of rest and relaxation, but is in Vancouver for Cascadia as we speak.
Yeah, couldn't stay away, and we are extremely grateful for both Nicola and Saren for helping us out on several of our DBN broadcasts. It's been really a pleasure to have them on air. Zach, it is time for the real reason that people get to come together to watch this show. Some people think it's the standings, but we all know it's really all about Bubble Watch. This is the part of the show where we go head to head, making predictions about who will make it into next month's top 28. Zach, I am going to let you go first with our predictions. Let's take a look at those.
Do we have to? Are you sure the viewers want it? All right.
The people have asked. Here we go.
If they demand it, then I will pick Chris Matza. And listen, Brian, I've never seen him play, but I've already got 2 notebooks full of nicknames ready to go. Listen, sometimes punditry is less about predicting and more about manifesting.
Well, Zach, according to our stats team, you played with Chris at Whipping, but based on your results at that event, I believe you weren't paying attention, so you're probably correct about having never seen him play. I like this pick because I have no idea what to expect, and uncertainty is good entertainment.
A lot of wine flowing around at Whipping, Brian. It makes it hard. Liam Stokes. Here's a guy who gets better every time I see him play. And listen to this, Brian. Not only do I expect Liam to qualify for DBNI, put a stamp, put a lock on it right now, I expect to see Liam Stokes on the top board in February. Liam is a rocket ship.
Zach, I like this pick. I like it so much that until we were reviewing our show notes, you and I both had Liam as one of our picks. I'm not sure if he'll make it to the top 28 before our next broadcast, but I will be shocked if he isn't there in February.
Well, old habits die hard, Brian. Hal Shield didn't have a great outing at Dixie, but he's an experienced player who is impossible not to like. And you cannot teach affability, as you and I both know all too well. I feel like I say this every year and every show, but Hal Shield really is going to turn some heads this season.
Zach, you know I am a fan of Hal. He was one of my picks last year that sadly did not pan out for me. Hal's been hard at work creating graphics and videos for DBN. I definitely wish him success. But until proven otherwise, I am not going to make him one of my choices in Bubble Watch. So, Zach, my first pick is Ben Kelman. I've been Team Kelman since the 2020 season, and I'm not backing away from this pick now. I'm expecting Ben to be in the top 28 next month.
Brian, I like this pick. Ben Kelman is old school, hard-nosed, gritty, 3 yards in a cloud of dust, diplomacy. He's going to show up. He's going to be a reliable ally. He's going to negotiate hard, and he's always going to be in the mix for every tournament and league that he's in. I think Ben Kelman is a great pick and very likely to get onto this list, and has a decent shot of finishing high on this list.
For my second pick, I am picking fellow Windy City Weasel and new producer of this show, Sabi Ahuja. Sabi's been active in every format of diplomacy, and I like to believe that this will pay off for them.
Well, Sabi Ahuja has had a lot of success in different formats. I mean, gunboat, speedboat, extended deadline, virtual. Sabi has had not just good, but great results in every single one of those formats. And that's the type of versatility that is rewarded by DBNI. And I'd be remiss if I did not mention that this is the 2021 Virtual Diplomacy League GM of the Year. So player chops, organizer chops, Sabi is deserving, and I think Sabi will be on this list if they just get enough games in. Great pick.
And finally, what do you do when you realize that one of your picks is stolen by your co-host? You go back to what helped you win Bubble Watch predictions for the past 2 seasons in a row. You take big risks. I'm taking Timothy Jackson, a player familiar to the face-to-face hobby, but pretty much unknown to the virtual hobby.
Brian, I hate this pick, and I'll tell you why. Timothy Jackson is a great individual, a solid player, one of the most fun players you'll ever have the pleasure of being with on a board. But in 2019, he knocked me off of a board and told me that he owes me a beer. I still haven't got that beer. And so I will reject all Timothy Jackson praise until I get that beer.
Let's take a look now at our upcoming DBNI events. The summertime stretch will define this diplomacy season, setting the stage and establishing the narratives that we will be keeping an eye on this fall. The upcoming wave of tournaments have a lot of variation in both geography and format, which should make an interesting back and forth. Let's take a look at those now.
Well, first up, you can hardly even call this an upcoming event because it's going on right now. Cascadia in British Columbia, Vancouver, July 9th and 10th. This will be broadcast live on DBNI, well, live-ish, this Sunday. Keep an eye out for that right here on this channel.
And those players that have played in face-to-face or extended deadline and need to get their virtual face-to-face games in have a fantastic chance to do that during the upcoming Summer Classic, July 22nd to 24th. This is designed to have times for game slots that are internationally friendly for all time zones, and it's expected to be one of the largest events of this year, possibly the largest virtual face-to-face event until the Virtual Diplomacy Championship this winter. So definitely recommend anyone trying to get in some games. All you need is 2, show up, play the Summer Classic.
Couldn't agree more, Brian. The Summer Classic has always been a good one, time zones that accommodate everybody in the world. And next on the face-to-face scene, Boston Massacre, right in the middle of August 12th through 14th. This is a long-standing local Boston tournament. Really good for kind of meeting the locals in that area that don't necessarily make it out to the West Coast tournaments of the international tournament. TD Alex Maslow, longtime hobby member, great organizer, great director, probably a good player. I've never been on a board with them. Boston Massacre is going to be a good event.
And stand-up comedian Alex Maslow. Euro DipCon is going to be held at the Swiss Diplomacy Championship this year, September 8th to 11th in Switzerland. First of 2 upcoming European tournaments. Really good to see some European events back on the tournament calendar.
Speaking of European tournaments, a brand new tournament in London, England from Christophe Borges, first-time tournament director, but a very well-known part of the virtual face-to-face hobby. And that is coming up on September 24th, 25th, which means, not to get ahead of myself, but that will be a 2-weekend tournament combining with what Brian is about to tell you about right now.
Yeah, also on the 24th to 25th is my own hometown tournament, Weasel Moot in Chicago, Illinois. Really excited about this one. Already have a good number of players signed up and fantastic players that are planning to come. Definitely, if you are up for the travel, this is going to be a good one this year. Sabi Ahuja is going to be the tournament director. Got a great venue, great folks. It'll be a good time. And of course, we will have several more upcoming events to play throughout the year. We just didn't have room to keep them all on one slide, so we decided to stop there. Zach, that brings our show to a close. The season's off to a strong start. What are your thoughts about what we've seen and where we're heading?
Here's my thoughts, Brian, after one show and our initial review. Meet the new year, same as the old year. Some themes emerging year after year, Brian. We got maybe 50 to 66% of the field. You look at established, well-known, strong kind of legacy players. But always, this year, just like every other year, a lot of new names, a lot of names that we listed that have not come out of our mouths on this show before. I'm excited about the variation in this hobby. I'm excited about the new events, the new organizers, and most of all, the new faces. We're 1 month in and we just saw a lot of new faces. By the time we get to February, it's going to be a whole different roster than we had at the end of 2021. And I can't wait to see how it pans out.
Looking forward to it. And Zach, thank you for joining me as co-host for this show. Thanks to Sabi Ahuja for their help in production. And I'd like to thank each of you for watching the DBNI Countdown Show. As always, if you have any questions or comments, please contact us on Twitter at DiploBN or email us at info@diplobn.com. If you enjoyed the show, please like the video, click the subscribe button, and tell us your thoughts. Make your own predictions in the comments section. All of these things help YouTube prioritize these videos and might help someone new discover the game that we enjoy so much. As always, we hope to see you on the diplomacy board soon. Thanks for watching.